Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Kovacs here, and for Erev Shabbat Ki Teitzei, Mishnah Yomi is in the 10th chapter of Bava Kama, Mishnah Dalet. A really interesting case. Zeh Bava Chabitel Shel Yayin. There are two guys walking down the road, and one of them has a chavit, a barrel of wine, Zeh Bava Kado Shel Dvash. The other one has a jug of dvash, of honey. Now we mentioned about the bee swarm yesterday and about how people have a kinyan only derabanan on a bee colony in their property because bees sometimes get up and move their hive. Now for this Mishnah, it's important to realize that honey, dvash, bee honey, is much more valuable per ounce than wine was. They were drinking wine all the time, but it's very difficult to get bee honey before modern times when we have more industrialized harvesting of honey, for better or for worse, when it's much less expensive in modern times than it used to be in ancient times. So what's going on? Nistiko chavit shel dvash. The container of the honey develops a crack, and now honey is oozing out. So what does the wine merchant do? These two guys are alone on the road. The honey merchant doesn't have any more containers to save his honey. Shofach zeh yeno. The wine guy throws out his wine, vehitzel et dvash letochel, and has all the honey, either pours out that container into his container or has it dripping into his container to save the honey. So, ein lo ela scharo. He doesn't get paid back for all his wine, just his wages. Now, schar here would include the effort he makes to dump out his wine and save the honey, and rental for his container, but he does not get reimbursed for all of the wine he spilled out. In the Gemara, they explain, if this container of honey was really breaking, and the honey was about to all be lost on the floor, and he ran over with his kli, that would be his kone from Hefker. And now the second guy who rescued the honey from all falling on the floor and being ruined, he actually is kone the honey because the original owner, whose kli is mamish breaking all over the place with no chance of saving it, he has yeyush. He legally gives up ownership, and the guy with the wine kli who saves it would now own the honey. But here it's just leaking out. It's not spilling all over the floor. V'im amar, but if the wine merchant makes a stipulation, otzil et shelcha, I will save your honey, v'atano ten li d'mei sheli, and you give me the value of the wine, which again is much less than the value of the honey. Chayev li ten lo, the honey merchant needs to pay the wine merchant for the value of his wine. The Mishnah brings a similar case, shotof nahar chamoro v'chamor chavero. The river is flooding, it's overflowing the banks, and the road is right next to the river, and he's got his donkey with stuff on it, and his friend has a donkey with stuff on it. They both get washed into the river, and I guess donkeys, at least with a load on them, are not good swimmers, so this guy volunteers to go jump in, and he can only save one of the donkeys. Shalo yafim money. His donkey and its merchandise is worth 100. Shel havero matayim. The other guy's donkey is worth 200. Now, the other guy might not be able to save his donkey. Only one of the two donkeys is going to get saved. Hopefully the other one can swim well enough to, make it to dry land somewhere, but they're going to lose the donkeys, lamaisa, unless someone does something right now. So what does he do? He niach zeh et shelo, the guy with the $100 donkey leaves his donkey to fend for itself. Ahitzil et shel havero, he saves the $200 donkey. Ein lo eles charo, he doesn't get the difference in value. He doesn't get the value of his donkey back. He doesn't get 100. He gets the wages you would have paid someone to jump in and drag that donkey to safety, which is probably much less than 100. Im amarlo, but if he stipulated, ani atzil shulcha, I'll go save your expensive donkey with its wares. Atonu ten et shali, you pay me the value of my donkey and wares. Chayev litan lo. Then the guy with the expensive donkey has to give him. The Mefarshim point out these are very similar cases, but we need both because the pouring out the wine, he's ma'abed biyadayim. He's pouring it out himself, whereas the donkeys, if no one does anything, they leave everything alone, then both donkeys will be lost. Let's go on to Mishnah. Hey, hagozil sodeh mechavero. He steals a field from his friend. Now, either he moved the boundary markers to get his friend's field, or by force, he threatened him to get him off his land. Really, karka ein nigzelet. Our sages say that land you can't really steal. Someone retains title, but there are ways to force someone off the land. You shouldn't try this at home. Tulua masikin. And then after that, the masikin. Now, these are similar to the mochsim, the tax collectors that we discussed being dishonest and, trying to get more money than they were authorized to get. So these masikin come and take the land. Masikin here might be cognate to the word sikarikon, the famous sikarikon would extort land. This is in chapter 5 of Gittin, Mishnah 6. In the Gemara, it's around daf 55, 56, and that launches into the discussion of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, because they talk about the time right around the Churban, right after the Churban, where the Sikri Kohen were allowed to, God forbid, kill Jews to steal their land and extort from them. So a Jew threatened in this manner would give up his land gladly to avoid being murdered by the Sikri Kohen. So these Masikin, I think, are a step down from that. They are threatening people to take their land, and sometimes under cover of government authority. It's like a type of eminent domain where they say, hey, we're going to take some fields, we're going to requisition fields for the use of the king, the government. So, im makat Medina, the Mishnah says, if it's a makat Medina, that means a plague of the whole country. It means they're taking everybody's land. They don't really care which one they take. Omer lo, so the guy who stole the land from the original owner can say, hare shelcha levenecha. Behold, your land is right here in front of you. Now, the Masikin took it under color of government action, eminent domain. So if you can get it back from them, go ahead, take them to court and give it back to them. But I have no obligation to pay you. But ve'im machmata gazlan, if it's because of the land thief that the Masikin took this land, took possession of this land or eminent domained it, then he has to pay. Chayev lahamid lo sadeh acher, he has to give him another field. So the case would be the Masikin came and they said, hey, we need 10 hectares. We need a certain amount of land. So the Gazlan showed him the field he got from the original owner. It wasn't originally his field, so they took it because he showed him, take that one. So then he has to pay by giving him another one of his field. Shetofa Nahar, if the river overflowed its banks, flooded that field, Amarlo Hareshocha Lefenecha, the thief can say, listen, here's your land. Now Nebuch, it's flooded, it's muddy, it's full of fish now, but you could have it back as it is. And he doesn't have to pay any damages because really he didn't do anything to damage the field or make it lost. That was really the river that did that. Yashar Good Shabbos.